All right. Hello, ladies. I am so stoked that you're here with me today because I have a dear friend with me who really has some amazing stuff for you today. Her name is Liza Bern. Liza Grace Bern is the mother of three and founder of The Well-Grounded Life, an exceptional online community where she connects with women all over the world, supporting them to live vibrant, fulfilling, and prosperous lives. She teaches tools and strategies to moms who want to experience deep reserves of calm and abundant energy as they navigate the journey of motherhood. Liza holds a master's in public health and is the author of the best-selling book Replenish. All right, Liza, I am so excited to have you here.
Thank you, Nicole. I love being here.
Yeah. So the reason why I wanted to bring Liza on is because she teaches something that majority of my clients deal with, a level of overwhelm and stress and anxiety, sometimes caused by our family and by our children. And I think she has some really great resources that I wanted to share with you guys that you should totally take and run with. Because what I've noticed is a lot of my clients, no matter how much time they really do have, if they start to feel in the least bit uncomfortable, I think their automatic mindset goes to overwhelm, like kind of like it's a place of comfortability. And
Mm.
so, anyway, I wanted Liza to come and share some tips on how to go from craziness to calmness. So Liza, let's just dive right into some of these tips and maybe even a brief understanding of why you teach this.
Yeah, thank you. And you just hit on it. Some really important points too. So I'm a mom of three. The work I do now is really born out of the valleys I experienced being a new mother and feeling what I call I had my capsize moment. Motherhood caused me to have a capsize moment where life was too big for me to feel like I could handle. And that's really scary. So we have either a kind of chronic, everyday overwhelm experiences, or sometimes we have major traumatic, like I'm really having a hard time functioning experiences. But either way, somewhere along the line, we get into habits of overwhelm and habits of stress. And I think that's what is really interesting that you kind of made the point of initially is that it becomes our default.
Right.
It may not feel comfortable. We may not want to be there, but ultimately we've created a biochemistry and a lifestyle that keeps feeding into that biochemistry that keeps us stuck. And I think that's a really critical part and point of what I do, because that stuckness is what most of us don't have tools against.
Right.
We don't know how to get ourselves out of the patterns and the habits and the ruts that we feel in. When life just every day just kind of comes at us and we're just so reactionary that we're just putting out fires all day long, putting out fires. So yeah, I mean, a little bit of my background is that that's where I was. And I was really experiencing a sense that I couldn't regain my footing in life. And that began my own journey in doing what I do with moms now, which is supporting them to understand their how they're wired, their own bodies, their own minds, how they interact with their environments, and what they can do to regain some of that control back, even if the craziness is still all around them, right? Because that's going to happen. That's, you don't shut that off.
Yeah, and we talk about, I mean, I talk about that. I don't know if you've ever read the book Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself.
No.
It's by Dr. Joe Dispenza. He was in What the Bleep. Have you seen that
Yeah.
movie?
Oh, yes, I have. Yeah.
So Dr. Joe Dispenza was a little short, stocky, blonde guy that was really at the end talking a lot, really about how we're wired. And this book you would totally geek out on because it's scientific proof, which I'm sure you actually have more than I do. But the first time I read this book, I was like so geeked out. I was like, oh my gosh, this is all proof of what I'm teaching and about your wiring of your mind and teaching you the automatic way that we live. And the way to break that pattern is by interrupting that. And, with great tools that I'm sure that you teach. And really, right now, like family and children equal stress. Like, it's just like, that's how it is. And so it's being able to learn to step back and witness those and have the tools in your back pocket to say, oh, Liza taught me this to do in this moment. I'm going to implement this, and then slowly
Rewire.
that, and slowly and rewire it for when you get stressed, you automatically go to these healthy tools as opposed to flipping the lid and just, screaming or yelling or, just causing this reactionary drama that could just go on for days and cause you to binge and eat food and, drink a lot of wine and stuff like that. So it's science. It really is science.
It is science. It is. And it takes a lot of the blame out of it. I think so many times I work with women and we really understand who we are, how we were designed, who we want to be, what's happening in our life that are keeping us in one place, what we can do differently. And once we understand that if we're not set up biochemically to support clear thinking, calm moods, vital energy, if we're not biochemically, if we don't have the raw materials, it takes away the blame. Because so many times, especially as moms that I work with, but I think all women, we have this inner blamer, this inner voice that is constantly beating us up and telling us we're just bad people and we're weak and we're not good enough and we're monsters. And here we are again, ruining our children. And we can just really get ourselves in a place where we're our own worst enemy. And instead, I always say, there's a great line from Ani DeFranco, which is like a folk singer. She has a great line. She said, every tool is a weapon if you hold it right. And the idea is that our minds are these tremendous tools, but we use them as weapons. So let's take this tremendous tool and learn how to use it for ourselves and for the things we care about most, and that's our dearest relationships. That's our core, purposes and meanings is our connections. And when they're starting to suffer, then we need to start to rewire how we're handling our stress so that we don't waste our most precious years not being able to connect in meaningful ways,
Wow. I love that. It takes the blame right out of it.
Yeah, it really does.
Totally remembering that, because that is something a lot of my clients, even if they have kids who are 14, 15 or older, they just like, man, I really screwed my kids up. Like, I hear that all the time, and it's like, you can't really blame yourself if you didn't really know how to choose differently. Yeah. And I have
moms in my community. I have moms from new moms with newborns to grandmas with, their grandchildren are in the fold and they have adult children. And all along the way, we always do the best we can. And when we learn better, we do better. Right? I think that was, even as we're recording it, Maya Angelou passed.
Right.
And I think that was a quote from her. When I know, I did what I did the best I could. And when I knew better, I did better.
Yep.
And the idea is that we are just growing beings as well. And what I found is that when I start taking these tools that I'm learning for myself, I have something to pass on to my child. So when they're flipping out and they're hitting code red and they can't handle their intense, big emotions, I don't have to panic because I don't know how to help them. And what that sometimes comes out as is trying to control it.
Yep.
I don't have to go into that reactionary state. I can sit with them, regulate myself, and support them to learn how to help themselves as well, which it's a totally different paradigm.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll get into the 3 tips really quick, but I want to say this one quick story where a client got on a coaching call and she said, things are a little crazy right now. School is getting ready to end, and she's like, I'm just trying to stay calm during the storm. And I was like, okay, well, tell me what's going on, because she has 2 kids. And they're actually way far apart in age. Like, one's 4 and one's like 13 or something. And she's like, I don't know what happens right before school. Maybe kids just get really like anxious, something like that. And she's like, and they're just edgy, which every time we're snipping and bitching and, picking and poking at life and things, it's always because there's some unresolved emotion and we just take it out on our bodies, on the dishes, on the laundry or whatever. And so I said, what would be really great is teaching your child how to deal with this anxiety by turning on the music, turning on some jams, and just start dancing around the house. Like, get it out of your body. You're going to
Yeah.
feel silly. They're going to look at you and say, oh, Mom, what are you doing? But say, come on, let's get it out. And, like, just play the music and just move your body and motor out some of that anxiety, if that's a good resource for them.
Sure.
Sometimes it might be better to just go upstairs and relax and turn on some relaxing music or something like that. But try that. Like, try to teach them that when they're feeling this, there's ways that you can resolve it process it without
totally. And then you don't get scared of it. I think a lot of parents get scared of their kids' big emotions on every age, young ages, older ages. When we don't understand something, we see it mirrored to us.
Right.
We don't know how to process our big emotions and manage life. So we have our own coping mechanisms, but then we see it come out in our children and we don't know how to support them to manage it. So we fear it. A fear trigger comes up, which makes us feel like we have to control it and shove it down or make it smaller or get, and that only makes it bigger. It always does. It only makes it worse. It cuts connection. I always say I'm not a parenting expert. Parenting is the hardest job I've ever had. I wouldn't possibly call myself, but I do know that I feel best about me as a parent when I'm well taken care of. When I've given myself what I need to show up as a healthy, vital woman, I always feel best I don't always have the answers. It doesn't mean I don't get confused. It's not hard. It's still hard. It's still sometimes really challenging and it's confusing and it's scary. Parenting is like that. But I always feel best about how I handle things when I'm equipped to be who I'm meant to be.
Yep.
And that's my angle. That's the best parenting stuff I've got is take care of yourself. And at least then you're grounded and you have something to offer them other than fear and reaction.
Right. Yeah. Because your children directly plug into you.
And that's really the first tip. Okay, we can actually jump right into the first tip, which is find the pause. Find the pause. Because children, particularly younger children I'm talking about now, but if children weren't taught this, sometimes developmentally they don't know how. Children are thermometers. And they read the energy and the heat of their environment. That's all they can do. That's where they are physiologically. They receive the energy around them.
Right.
And they calibrate to what's around them.
Yep.
As an adult, our job is to be a thermostat. Our job is to set the temperature. And most adults are thermometers. So you have this family of thermometers, and we just keep feeding into each other's heat rising.
Yep.
So the only way in the world, whether it's your boss, whether it's your coworkers, whether it's the neighborhood, moms you're in PTA with, whether it's your children, the only way for you to maintain who you want to be is if you've made the switch from being a thermometer to a thermostat. And we have to find the pause in order to do that. We have to find the toggle switch. And this is where I teach a lot, and this is beyond our 3 tips, but this is where I really teach a lot about limbic calming techniques. Because the part in your brain which shifts you to a thermostat instead of a thermometer is this tiny little part underneath the big brain, the thinking brain. It's called the limbic seat of your mind, your brain. And it controls everything that you don't need to think about. Your heart rate, your respiration, your emotions, your stress, your calm, your hormones. And when you can tap into that part of your brain in a moment's notice and allow your brain to shift into the thermostat setting instead of thermometer, then you've regained an inner locus of control, really. But you have to find that pause. So the first thing ever in life is to practice the pause. Practice different techniques that work for you. And I mean, I have a bag full of them. And some of them, like you were saying, sometimes dancing might be one of them. But sometimes simple tapping or a calm hold or an essential oil or a glass of water or nature and fresh air.
Yep.
Or, you just learn a lot and then you know which tool to grab in the environment you're in. But you create a pause so that you can toggle into being a thermostat.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So that pause obviously is just stopping the reaction.
Stopping your reactionary, right? Because when you're in reactionary mode, The one thing that will never, ever, ever stop your train wreck, right? Once you're in thermometer mode or stress mode, overwhelm mode, the only thing that doesn't work in that moment is your thoughts. You will never talk yourself out of being stressed. You can use your thoughts tremendously in tremendous powerful ways to guide your positive thinking, to stay in a calm state, to move forward, clarity, problem solving. I'm not saying your thoughts don't have an important role, but they do not stop you from being stressed. Whenever you tell yourself to stop being stressed, you get more stressed every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe even something simple now for everyone is just putting your hand on your heart and just taking a few deep breaths. There's something really beautiful about just touching your heart. There's something that happens. Oh, you're on mute. Lisa, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
There we go. Yeah, I do a heart pause with my moms. Another one is a simple calm hold I'll give. If you touch the back of your neck with your one palm and the forehead with your other palm, you're actually hitting neurovascular points, which trigger calm on a limbic level. And you'll want to do a certain kind of breathing. Breathe in for 4 and out for 8. So you breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you'll want to continue that maybe 2 or 3 times. And the thing is, you're touching your calm neurovascular points. You're doing a deep breathing, which triggers your limbic seat as well. But the reason you want to count 4 in and 8 out is because if you're counting, you can't think about anything else, right?
Yeah, help
so
shut
it's a really simple way of stopping your train wreck thoughts.
Yeah.
And just giving yourself 60 seconds to focus on numbers and to trigger a limbic calm, and that's your pause, right? And then you can regain a sense of what my second tip is: prioritize, right?
Okay.
Because you cannot prioritize when you're stressed out. When you are overwhelmed, your capacity to see things from the correct perspective you don't have it. You don't have access to clarity. You don't have access to perspective or prioritization. So once you pause, then you link pausing to prioritization. What is important right now? What is important? Because we put out fires that are not important. We spend our whole entire day putting out fires that were never actually an issue at all. They were in our heads.
Yep.
Right? Yeah.
So then you say, okay, what's the most important thing that I need to get done right now?
I need to get done. What's most important about this situation?
Okay.
And then my third tip, I call it skeleton self-care, right? All of us need to know what our minimum basic requirement for well-being is. And that will change in different seasons of our life. It'll change from where we are from month to month, where our life is. I call it, when I talk about self-care, I think of it as like a large fence. And those old, wooden kinds of fences where there's the horizontal and then the vertical posts. And the weight that a fence can bear depends on how close the vertical posts are. So if you have a certain time in your life where you're holding a lot of weight, you're dealing with a lot of anxiety, overwhelm, stress, the needs and demands on you are pretty intense, then your skeleton self-care, your minimum requirement for well-being is going to be a lot more. You need a lot more vertical posts in your day. And then there'll be stretches where things are going really well and you just have a resiliency and you feel bolstered in life and you just have a vitality. And maybe those posts look different. So I think that we always need to check in and ask ourselves, what do I need right now? What posts do I need to put in? Minimum, basic requirements. That could be I wake up and I make sure I get 8 glasses of water in. I make sure I go to bed before 10 a.m. and I get a shower every 3 days. Minimum, right? For some of us, that's it. But if I can keep it simple enough that I commit to it and I ritualize it, I make it a habit, then that can actually do more good than every 3 months getting a spa retreat, right? Because I don't need a spa retreat every 3 months. I need something every day that keeps me holding the weight of my life
Yeah.
without crumbling.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
And because usually when things get really crazy and hectic, like the holidays, traveling, moving houses, that's when we actually put ourselves on the back burner the most.
Yes.
But we need to be putting in those. And it doesn't need, it's like, okay, taking a shower,
Yeah.
it doesn't need to be extravagant. It doesn't
Yes.
need to be a 60-minute workout. It doesn't need to be
Yes.
salads for lunch and dinner.
Yes.
It can be just water.
Yes.
It's your basic minimum needs.
Exactly. And it could be, in my book, my book, Replenish, I talk about the 7 core essentials, right? It's calm mind, sovereign thoughts, nourished body, joyful movement, restorative rest, anchored quiet, and authentic connection. These aren't like the sexy, these are basic requirements that we all need.
Yep.
And I regularly look around that 7 core essentials and I say, how am I doing? How am I doing in movement? I don't always need to be training for a triathlon, but is my body getting what it needs in basic joyful movement? Right. How am I doing with rest? How am I doing with food? I don't need to eat perfectly every day, but I feel it when I don't have enough fresh fruits and veggies, right. When I'm dehydrated, when I've been overdoing processed foods. It's, small hinges swing big doors. And when we just start putting small increments in the right ways, I love mani-pedis, I love massages, but that to me is not core essentials, right? It's like walking into a room and the walls are crumbling and you have a can of paint. Like the paint can do wonders, but your home has to be, it has to be solid first. And when we do the right order of things, it's just amazing. Things just really start opening up.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Okay, so good. So pause, prioritize, skeleton
self-care. That's what I say, yeah.
Core essentials.
What are the basic posts? Yeah.
Basic posts. Okay, good. So Liza has something else for you guys as we start to wrap up here. She has, is it like an ebook type of thing?
Yeah, so it's a downloadable, it's kind of like a guided workbook, okay. And it's a teleclass. Oh. So it's, yeah.
And it's totally free.
Totally free.
And it's called Secrets of a Stress-Resilient Mom.
Yes. Yeah.
That is so good. Okay, Liza, thank you so much for coming on. I mean, this was so good. So many great tips here that you guys, hopefully you guys were taking notes. I probably should have told you to do that before. But Liza is awesome. And she has this free teleclass workbook that's absolutely free. I'll put the link below this video. Go get it, go grab it up, and start taking care of yourself. And it, again, what I love about Liza is she makes it so realistic. It's not A to Z. It's like, this is it. And so many of us think it needs to be all or none. Yeah. And that's not what it's about. And when you take care of yourself, everybody reaps the benefit.
Yeah, everyone wins. It really is true.
Because if you have children or not, your children do plug into you. If mama ain't happy, nobody's happy. We all know that saying. So true. And if you're not a mom, your family, your friends, absolutely, your pets.
Yeah, your work, right?
Yeah.
The quality of what you put. I always say you are your greatest gift to the world. You. Not what you do or what you provide. You are. So the quality that you show up in everything you do determines the gifts you give,
Amen.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, ladies, for watching, and make sure you click below. Thank you, Liza.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.